Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our joint Kent School District and Covington City Council Board joint meeting. In compliance with state legislative and executive actions responding to the COVID-19 emergency, this City Council special meeting is being held in a hybrid format with in-person, telephonic, and virtual options for public viewing. And just for IT, the microphones can pick you up. I mean, they pick me up no matter where I'm at. But I mean, for everybody else, you don't need to move the microphones because they can just pick you up just fine. With that, calling this meeting to order, and let's start with Pledge of Allegiance. Get all rise, join me. The flag is over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for that. Let's move into introductions, and I'm going to start at the front here on the left with Mr. Bailiff.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Superintendent, newly appointed, Kent School District. So thank you for having us today.
Yes. My apologies.
Wade Behringer, Executive Director, Senior Executive Director of Strategic Initiatives and Operations for the Kent School District.
Hello, I'm Randy Heath. I'm the Interim Chief of School Operations and Academic Supports.
Beth Porter, Covington City Council Member.
Mark, Kent School Board Director.
I'm Sean Smith. I'm from the Council.
I'm Michelle Bettinger, and I'm the Kent School Board Director.
Leslie Kamara, Kent School Board Director.
I'm Jeff Wagner. I'm your Mayor of Covington.
Wally Fair, Kent School District Board Director.
Joseph Mahone, Covington City Council, and a graduate of the Kent School District.
What high school?
Regan Boley, Covington City Manager.
Krista Bates, City Clerk and Executive Assistant.
Your turn, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Harjahausen. I am recovering from COVID. I thought you would all greatly appreciate me staying home during a potluck. And I am in the travel trailer in the driveway, making sure my kid can go to Kent Lake prom on Friday and that we have a successful 2022 graduation at Showwear.
Thanks for joining us, Jennifer. All right, so we have an agenda here, and we'll move into organizational updates. But before we do that, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight and the ability that we have a partnership with the Kent School District, and that everybody that you've joined us to give a discussion, and that's what I want to have. This is a discussion tonight, and that we're able to communicate and show all the updates that we have. I know Joe graduated from Kentwood. I'll have 3 girls graduating from Kent Lake in time, but it's just great to be working with Kent School. So thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's wonderful to be here with everybody. It's great to meet some of our new school board members, especially the really new ones like Molly there. So we're really excited about this opportunity. So I'll go through a really quick kind of city update and touch on the things that might be of interest to you as a school board, and some of the partnerships that we also have with the city. Once you can find which screen it is. There it is, if it shows up on there. All right. So this should be connected, right? I'm just going to use your computer because it's not.
I don't know why it's
That's okay.
Because Murphy showed up.
So first thing is Ready, Set, Play. If you haven't heard of this, originally we started this about 5 or 6 years ago. We called it Play Unplugged. And this was a way the city council wanted to engage our kids, especially during the summer, and keep them active. And so we came up with this program, Ready, Set, Play, where we went around to businesses. We partnered with our chamber and other organizations. And each business would sponsor a brag tag, this little tag that kids could collect. And each tag had an associated activity with it. So go on a hike, wear your seatbelt, ride a bike, bake cookies, go to bed early. I don't know, whatever the business wanted to sponsor, they did that. Brush your teeth, or the dentist and stuff. And so when the kids would do that activity, they'd take a picture of themselves doing it or something, they'd bring it in to that business and they'd collect the brag tag. If they collected all of them, then we gave them some reward at the end of the year. Typically, it's like a 3-month free swim pass to the aquatic center, something like that. It's been a really great program. Businesses have loved it. The kids have loved it. We've had 600-700 kids participating in it each summer. Obviously, during the pandemic, it was far less, but we still did a kind of a modified approach to Ready, Set, Play. But we're really excited this year to really get this kicked into gear. We've actually heard from a couple of the elementary schools, because originally we would go around to the end of year assemblies and really get the kids all hyped up and about this. And then we'd walk out and leave it to the teachers, but after the kids were hyped. But a great program. We're really excited to do it and get going again this year, and hopefully have that partnership with the school district. The light just came on. Did that work? Hey, the clicker works. Great. So another thing, that was for the kids, and the council several years ago again talked about we really need to engage our teenagers. What do we have for them? So we created the Covington Youth Council, and it's students from Kentwood and Kent Lake that live in or around Covington, and they are the Covington Youth Council, and they participate in some really just amazing, wonderful, service-oriented, legislative-oriented events throughout the year. One of the things they love the most is they go down for a couple of days to Olympia and participate in the legislative process. They meet with our legislators. They go through mock legislative processes. They create bills. Really a great opportunity for these kids. You'll see some of the other things. They've adopted a street. They do street cleanups around town, food drives they've done. And then another thing that they started several years ago was letters to Santa. And they would respond to every letter that they got. Really cool stuff. So they've done a great job, involved in all of our events, and we just love having them as one of our main commissions or councils here in the city. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the development happening in town, because this is really important for the school district. This is major and something that we need to work on planning together. This will be over 1,700 residential units, all multifamily, and just over 1 million square feet of commercial space. It's on 230 acres there, just on the Highway 18 and 256 interchange. And so that's happening. It's coming. And as we plan for that, that's going to bring more kids into the Kent School District. And so working together with the partnership that we have is going to be very important. A lot of there's one main road project split into a couple of different phases that I'll talk about that's surrounding that, and really the trigger for that project. So the first one, it's split into 3 phases, like I mentioned, is 204th. So that's from 516 up 204th, and that was a widening project and a lot of work there. That was just completed. We put in these new lights. We were excited about that. Christina got to flip the switch, so that was fun. Yeah, well, but it worked. We're blaming that on WashDOT, not us. But phase 2 is underway. That's the working on the intersection at Highway 18 and 256, putting in some roundabouts there and building that up to capacity for the traffic that will take that. So those are the 2 bookends, the 204th project and the interchange project. The middle section, phase 3, is Lake Point Boulevard. And so that is work's being done on that to bring up the road prism for that. And then that will kick in full gear once these other projects finish up. Jenkins Creek to 185th, as you know, as you head east or come west, there's a bottleneck there on 516. We call it the Covington Crawl, affectionately. So we've been working for a while to get some funding to widen that road from the Jenkins Creek River area right there, the hospital, down to the Home Depot shopping complex. So we got some money a few years ago from the state for that. We went out to bid. They came in too high. We thought, well, let's rebid it. So we rebid it, and they came in at $5 million over budget, the bids. So in the 11th hour, we went to the state and worked that money into the transportation package. So we were able to get full funding for that project. And construction began this week, actually. So people won't be happy with the construction, but definitely once it's completed, that'll be a great project in town. So SoCo, or South Covington Park, as many of you know, probably all of you, that the city of Covington purchased the old Covington Elementary School site, and that's to develop our future town center on that parcel. So SoCo Park is right across the street. So this is Wax Road right through here. The old Covington Elementary School is right here. We've purchased 3 different parcels here. We've taken down the homes and have some preliminary designs in place. We're working on 2 additional plots right here and right here to really expand that for walking trails, hopefully connect it to Jenkins Creek Park one day, playground, an amphitheater, and just to make this connection between our town center and the environment and have that flow really nicely. So we're excited about that happening as well. So Jenkins Creek Park, I just mentioned that. That is, if you maybe some of you've never been in that park, it's a real hidden gem in the middle of the city. You go in there, it's incredibly peaceful. Kind of everything around just melts away. The problem is there's really horrible access unless you go to Jenkins Creek Elementary School. And right behind, there's great access right there. But otherwise, it's just not very good. So we purchased about 2 acres on the other side of Jenkins Creek Elementary School to create some parking, lighting, some pathways, restore natural areas and some of the shoreline there. So we're excited about that so that more people can have access to that great park. If you don't know, the Kent School District kids are very active in athletics and recreation here in Covington, and we love that. Our field at CCP, that's Covington Community Park, gets a ton of use, always activated, and that's wonderful. But that turf just can't keep up. So we got a $100,000 grant from the county to restore that. So we're excited about that to hopefully continue to keep up with the level of use. So you'll see here in our athletic programs, we just last year, obviously with restrictions still in place, we had almost 1,800 kids in our athletic programs, which is really wonderful. A lot of safety protocols in place to keep everyone safe and healthy. Our rec programs, just over 1,100. And then our aquatics attendance, we had just over 69,000 people in the water. So a lot of, we call them splashes in that pool. So a lot of use there in all the surrounding communities. One of our commissions is our arts commission. They did a great thing last year to really kind of engage. They weren't able to do a lot of the events they typically do. They did a virtual art show and people could submit art. It was all done online and through social media. There was voting that took place. There was a People's Choice Award and then the Arts Commission selection. So that was a lot of fun that they do. Also, and that includes a lot of our Kent School District kids. We do usually a student art show where businesses sponsor the art. You guys know it. And people travel around to the businesses to see their kids' art hanging up in it. So that's a lot of fun. Hopefully get back to that. So public safety is an absolute priority in the city of Covington, if not the top priority. We are just scrambling as the city council to find ways to have adequate public safety here in the city, keep our businesses, our residents, and our kids safe and protected. So one of the things we've done, the council approved a community care specialist. And as we all know, there's a lot of calls our police go on and they just are not trained or prepared to handle those kind of things. So this community care specialist will be that person and they will facilitate the services that that person needs, whether it's mental health or whatever it is. So we're excited to get that. We're advertising for that position right now and I think that will be a wonderful blessing to the community. Another thing is CPTED, that's crime prevention through environmental design. Trying to come up with ways, because it's really hard to hire a police officer right now, coming up with ways that are a little more innovative and we need more officers, which we do, but CPTED's another wonderful thing that we'll start incorporating into our development code where we have scheduled some open houses and workshops where we'll bring in businesses, we'll train them on some easy principles that they can do to help cut down and work on crime prevention at their own place of business. So grateful that we did that. We held a big training. We brought in a national trainer. Christina did the training as well. And we had people from Seattle, Maple Valley, all the surrounding communities attending that training also. So that was great. Our public safety committee, at our summit in January, the council created a public safety committee, and that's Mayor Pro Tem Smith and council members Porter and Simono. And really this is to analyze how can we best provide the best possible public safety in Covington, and how do we pay for it? And so, right, that's the big question. And so that's something we analyzed and worked on. One of the things we've discussed is a potential business and occupation tax. The whole council, we walked around with postcards and a QR code to a survey link to every business in the city and said, please take this survey so we can know how you feel about a B&O tax to pay for public safety. It was pretty incredible. Actually, the responses, we had a good percentage of response. And the theme of it was, we don't like taxes and we don't want a B&O tax, but if you can commit as a council to dedicate this to public safety, we're on board. That was the message we got. So overall, obviously there were some different things as well, but that was the general consensus. So that's something the council will be moving forward on throughout the summer and into the fall. Another thing we thought we need to do, if we can keep Covington clean, Covington can keep growing and looking good. So the council approved a position and we're calling it our clean team. Right now, there's just one member, her name's Jennifer, right there in the back, and she has helpers that help out, and she is just doing amazing work. If you're in Covington at all, you will see her out on the streets. She is out picking up litter. She's coordinating our Adopt a Street program, our service projects, our abandoned shopping cart program, which has gotten out of control, removing graffiti, and then our CEDIS, which is the Covington Economic Development Council, and the Chamber created a clean, safe, welcome committee. And she is leading the clean aspect of that committee. So we're really excited about that new position and what that will eventually develop into. So last year we turned 25 as a city. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Right, yeah, we can rent a car now, so excited about that. It was time to refresh our vision, mission, and goals. And so in the fall, we brought in someone from the Drucker Institute of Leadership. We had a great workshop with our city council, leadership team on staff, and then someone, at least one person from every commission in the city. And it was a really great workshop, and I will let our council introduce those to you. Maybe. Can I pause it? I will go back. Because we turn the volume off of this one, right? All right, let's try it.
Our mission, having to combine our engaged with economic strength, a healthy, safe environment, and exceptional services for all. Our mission.
Our goal, a world-class and resilient economy, socially vibrant destination, and exceptional city services.
Well, I don't know if you heard those.
We'll just do it live.
Go for it, Sean.
That's a great idea. So I'll wrap this up, and then we've got the school district show ahead, so we want to get to that. But moving forward, obviously public safety, we'll be developing a new 2023 through 2027 strategic plan, and we're excited to have all of our Covington events back that we've had to cancel the last several years. So thrilled about that, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Just a couple things that I think we can maybe expand a little bit on the business support for the B&O, and in particular, I was really interested had to say during our meeting?
Yeah.
You talk about that then.
Yeah, you bet. So multi-care would obviously be a huge payer into the B&O tax. They are absolutely opposed to B&O taxes. One of the things that their director expressed to us is their faith in the leadership here in Covington, and said, we absolutely trust your leadership. We trust that you're going to do with those funds what you say you're going to do. And so we will get behind this and we'll support it and promote it. Which was, that's a really incredible message. I think it speaks volumes to the city council that we have in their outreach and involvement with the community. And that echoed what a lot of businesses shared as well in the survey.
And we have a upcoming town hall on.
Yeah. So June 27th. I wouldn't call it a town hall. It's a chamber meeting for businesses. And so we will provide a lot of content. The chamber is sponsoring it. It will be hosted here, though, at City Hall. And just another opportunity. Like I said, every business in town received a postcard about the survey, but this will be an opportunity to have some open dialogue and discussion with our businesses. So that's on June 27th.
A couple other things. We also recently had a presentation for the students. We've had to try to see if we can, it's going to be a pilot to see if we can make the city more accessible. So not all of us are balanced on those, but I think there are some that will be able to sit around, possibly get further within town, so we might be seeing those.
Anybody else?
I just said two. So.
Okay.
I want to see that.
You're going to be short.
Short. Well, the art show I think is outstanding. I want to continue continue that as well in person. And then I'll just make a pitch for now that 516 is getting expanded in 4 lanes out past Home Depot. That we're going to change that when it comes to fall to the Maple Valley molasses.
Then they'll pick up on it. That's a great idea.
Because it's been motivating.
That's what we'll start calling it.
Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
I have a meeting with the mayor next week.
I want to know how long you've been working.
This is
on that.
recorded, right? I literally wrote it down.
I just wrote it down.
Maple Valley morass, but I think molasses is part of that.
Yeah, he's gonna go trademark that. I love it. That's great.
There you go.
Perfect.
I'm done.
That's perfect. I love that. Thank you.
Just a quick question
Yeah.
about you said that you purchased several parcels
Yeah.
to move this, you said the city center into that location. Does that include the city hall?
Yes, so we purchased the old Covington Elementary School and we took that down, demoed that. And the plan is to develop a town center there. So it will be an open public plaza. It'll be a couple acres. The hope is a city hall, potentially a community center, move our aquatic center there. Those are some of the ideas right now that the council's going to be working with.
We can just a quick, you made some progress if the businesses are really behind that, tax. I ran Prop 1 the first time it went, lost by 30 votes. Said I'd never lose another election. Maybe it was back and forth, and that was such a sensible tax. I'm surprised you got that support, but I'm not really.
Yeah, we've had trouble. Covington's never passed the ballot measure, right? And so B&O taxes council now.
When we were walking business to business, I'm in the small amount of reading that I walked. There was at least 12 doors. I wouldn't call doors that wooden box holding the Covington was around just looks so different. It looks so different in such a short time. So I think people are like,
That's good to do.
it is. I mean, there's hope. Yeah.
Because I mean, that was just sensible tax. I couldn't believe it.
Costco.
Really? Wow.
That's amazing.
As we said, it was strictly Republican.
Everybody gets
All right, Superintendent, we'll turn it over to you, Superintendent Vela. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Wagner. And I think we're gonna. So as that's loading, I just want to again thank the Mayor Wagner and the council members for the invite today. I think he started off by saying we're excited about this partnership. What I've heard so far, I've definitely been taking notes on the connections and things, so excited about that. I also wanted to share that in acknowledgement of our board, I mentioned earlier, I'm very, very proud to be appointed the next superintendent of the Kent School District. I have 2 kids graduated from Kentwood High School as well, so excited about that and being a part of this community. The other one is tonight really is about, in a sense, a state of the district. We did see your topics, and hopefully that my team here that's here today will kind of cover a lot of those topics, but we want to leave time at the end for questions as well. So I wanted to do that. And then as that's launching, this is actually a continuation of when Mayor Wagner and I got together earlier this school year. And I shared with him many of the priority initiatives that are happening in the school district, and some of the commitments that I had made as interim superintendent at that time to make sure that we are continuing to move forward as a district in the work that we are accomplishing, and also growing as a district in terms of partnerships. So I wanted just to share that. Yeah.
It's not working properly.
If you just want to go to the next slide.
I'm sorry, I don't have enough words. I had to switch computers.
And I could just pretty much do this without that too. So
We can go through it.
for sure. Yeah, if you could just go ahead and go to the next slide right there. You know how many languages, we have over 130 languages spoken in our school district and growing. Also had a moment to meet with another council member, Christina, about refugee influx that we're continuing to get in our district, and talked about how important our partnership is in that area. But also wanted to make sure that this has been one of my priority initiatives around making sure we're focusing on communicating, two-way communication with our top 5 languages or more within our schools. We established our equity office and strategic engagement this year as a priority initiative. We also aligned our interpreter and translation services with our communications team, and we're excited about growing that area in particular. So I'll go ahead and go on to the next slide and just very quickly hit on these. One of the themes that I shared with Mayor Wagner was really around, so what are those areas that we need to continue to focus on from a continuity standpoint and also stability standpoint? I know when there's transition in leadership, it's oftentimes where there's a stall in certain things when it relates to initiatives. That's not the focus my team had. My team focused on the things that we needed to do, regardless of who was going to be named superintendent. We wanted to make sure we continued to work and progress in the way we needed to hit the ground running. And so I messaged to my team, we need to continue to focus on finishing strong. We needed to focus on starting strong as well as staying strong, probably the most important. Around finishing strong, first full year of in-person learning. Another 20 some odd days and we're going to get there. We also are crossing the finish line for our seniors for the first time in a couple of years in person at Shower. We're excited about that. Dr. Behringer will talk a little bit more about that. And then just celebrating our teachers and KST staff that made this possible. As you know, those numbers have gone up and down this year, and we continue to focus on in-person learning because there is no substitute for that. Under starting strong, we are also looking at summer programming for students that we either are helping to accelerate in terms of their learning and supporting them as they move to start the school year strong as well. We also are looking at a strategic plan refresh. We paused it for obvious reasons until a new superintendent was appointed, so that superintendent could help support the process and engage our community to that end. And so I'm excited to get that started. Virtual Academy was also one that Dr. Behringer will talk to you about, but it was really providing not a remote learning environment, but a true virtual academy that we would create as an option to gain back enrollment that we lost, as well as attract new enrollment in the future. So I'm excited about that. And then under, I talked a little bit about languages, staying strong. The critical piece here is around systems alignment. How do we utilize those resources like the Covington City Council as it relates to staying strong? We're doing the same as a Kent School District. We had that impact of low enrollment. We're hoping to get that back. Virtual Academy is about that. And then most importantly, our core business is around supporting the success of our students. And systems alignment and those resources, we want to continue to align those so that we can help support our students throughout the school year and through the summer. And so that's just a quick overview that I wanted to give, because I wanted to give my team time to kind of focus on some of those areas. And by the way, the topics you gave us, special thank you to Krista for working closely with Naomi and just kind of figure out how we're going to do that tonight. So I apologize for the quick opening, but I wanted to get to my team. Dr. Behringer, then go ahead to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, it'd be Randy with student supports, student voice, and school safety.
And if you remember back about this time last year, I was also here. We were doing it virtually, but I wanted to, we talked about some of the same things because it was front and center on people's minds, really around our kids doing all right and what supports are they going to need to be successful. And I talked a little bit last year, I shared around our multi-tiered systems of support and the whole idea that, you know, in order to give kids the supports they need, we have to have a real clear system around how do we deliver those supports. And talk about that tiered system. We do things in the tier one. Tier one are things that we do for all of our students. It includes things like our social emotional learning lessons that we give at all the elementary schools and at our secondary schools. Talks about you know, a strong anti-bullying curriculum and lessons and a process for kids to share when bullying is occurring so that we can try to get on top of it as soon as possible. It's about building intentional relationships. As all of you know, that's the key to so much of all of this. If kids, well, really, if anybody, any human, adults, kids, they need to know that you care about them first before they will, you know, build a relationship with that. So how do we do that in an intentional way? To build those connections, not only with the staff and the students, but also students and students together. And how do we build those relationships? So that's all part of the tier one support. Part of that is really making sure that our staff is comfortable in that. And so we've done some intentional training with our staff around social emotional learning. We have more training set for next year as well for all of our staff. And that includes not just our teaching staff or administrators, it's all the staff that we have in our district and how do we help them build connections. Tier two supports are done in addition to the tier one. So the key is those tier one supports we do for all kids. And then the other tiered supports we put on top of those. And so you can't do one without the other. So tier two is really about supporting groups of students maybe that need additional pieces. It includes maybe specific groups that we run in terms of friendship groups or, you know, conflict resolution groups or groups of kids that maybe are going through grief, you know, and so how do we build those and connect those kids and give them additional support? Or it could be in that it is around reteaching and practicing, giving them opportunities to practice their social emotional learning skills that we've given them. So if we have a lesson around conflict resolution, sometimes they may have gotten that as part of a larger group, but they need like some additional time to be retaught it, practice it, do some scenarios, and let them try it. And so that would be an example of some tier two support. And tier three supports are really very individualized. And once again, that's in addition to doing the tier one and the tier two. And that's sometimes when you start looking at some of the things around mental health counseling, substance use counseling, mentorship, you know, and that is where we really started to lean on and make really meaningful community partnerships. And that has been like one of the keys to the success, both throughout the pandemic, well, actually before, then we really understood their value during the time when kids were at home and they were doing this. And we had these strong community partners that had already had relationships with our community and are able to, go out to their homes and deliver some of the services that were needed and find out from families directly what are the resources that you need and then go out and looking for those. These include partnerships we've had for years, like our Communities and Schools partnership that I know some of you are involved with as well. And they continue to be a very important partner. But we've also built a whole bunch of new partnerships in this. We have partners around our mental health services, Valley Cities, behavioral health, Kent Youth and Family Services, Asian counseling services. We've brought on Hazel Health, which does telehealth. As you can imagine, the need for mental health services has increased because of the pandemic. And so, unfortunately, our community partners have also had struggles trying to hire mental health counselors and keep that. So we realized that we needed to add as many as we could. And that's where we were looking at telehealth. Telehealth, we found it works for some kids, doesn't work for others, but at least it's another option that we're trying. We got our mentorship, and then we've done some more intentional ones around like Central Rendu that has been a great connection with us in terms of re-engaging a lot of our youth that had kind of dropped out during the pandemic and had disappeared on us. And we have somebody at the district whose sole job it is to try to find kids that kind of have lost track of and see if we can't re-engage them in school and get them back connected to some type of program. We built in some strong partnerships around serving our refugee populations and our newcomers to the country. Living Well Kent has been a strong new partner of ours. They are running a culturally appropriate food bank at our old Kent Phoenix Academy site that has really filled the need that our communities have, as well as doing some work within the schools with our students and our parents groups. Other one is the Iraqi Community Center is another one that we've done. World Relief is another group that we've connected with. And so we continue to build new partnerships every single day. And we will be really open to anyone who wants to come and help partner with us in service of kids and families in the Kent and Covington area. That's been a big part of our social emotional support. Also, we continued in doing through a Best Starts for Kids grant to King County, our screening, brief intervention, referred services, our SBIRT grant, in which we do universal screening of middle school students to try to find kids early that may be struggling in need of supports. And the idea is if you can catch things early, then sometimes it's just brief interventions that are needed. For some kids, it's just a weekly check-in with an adult at the school that helps get them back on track. So the idea is to try to identify early, get supports needed, and then if they need additional supports, then you start building up more and more supports as we go there. And what we found is this: we are finding kids that were not on our radar through this process. Some kids, they're out there with their behaviors, and you can't help but understand they need supports. Other kids suffer a little more in silence in terms of we wouldn't necessarily know that there was something going on. The screening process helps us to identify that because they are able to kind of share in a safe way and people follow up with them. We're happy to say that we applied again for this grant through the new Best Start for Kids grant. It just got approved by voters again. And we're able to expand this to our high schools next year. So we'll be doing this in both our middle schools and our high schools. And so we're excited about that. Another big thing that we've been working on this year around providing emotional support and social emotional supports is comprehensive school counseling and guidance plan that is part of the new legislation from the state. And this year, we've been working in partnership with our with school counselors, with administrators, with district staff from Student and Family Support Services, really around building this comprehensive plan. And we will actually be sharing the initial stages of this plan with the board in June for them to take a look at and get sign off on. The full implementation of the new comprehensive school counseling and guidance plan is set for the 23-24 school year. So this was a planning year to kind of have a plan to get to the next step, and then next year will be a lot of work to finalizing plan. The key to this comprehensive school guidance and counseling and guidance plan is around making sure that we are utilizing our school counselors where they are trained and needed the most, which is in either direct or indirect service to students. So what we're trying to do is make sure that any of other types of duties or other things that maybe have been on their plate that weren't really in direct service to students, that we're trying to move those into other spots so that the counselors who are trained specifically to support kids are able to best do that job. And so we're excited about that work and excited about sharing that with our board. We really view kids being socially, emotionally supported as one of the key pieces to school safety. A lot of times I think people think school safety and they think automatically to disaster planning, safety officers and police, school resource officers and all those things. The reality is school safety, so much of it is really around the social emotional piece of this and making connections with kids and having it be a space where kids feel like they belong and that they're accepted. And it takes, when we do that well, takes care of a lot of these other things that are going on. And so we really always want to keep social emotional well-being at the center of our safety planning. We need to also understand that conflict happens. That's a part of everything. There's not adults, kids are no different. There's conflict that happens. How we address those conflicts, how we build the skill sets in students to know how to solve conflicts. And then also, that we have staff that are specifically trained in working with kids to resolve conflicts. That's one of the main pieces that we really want to concentrate on. And we also, need to have students and really make sure that they understand the resources that are out there for them and how to access those resources. And so that's a key right there. And really, training our staff to really identify things early when they're at a smaller level so that we can address them when they haven't kind of blown up and gotten bigger. There's the other part of school safety that we are, we still do. We do the disaster planning. We need to be ready for emergencies. We do our training on a regular basis. We have a assistant director of safety services, Tim Covington, who is big on this. And I was actually going to suggest that, if there's safety planning that's happening in the city, he would be a great resource to bring in and be part of the committee and connect those safety services between the schools and the city and coordinate as much as we can. Our safety officers and our school resource officers are important supports for our schools. And we feel like they play an important role. And we really want to make sure that both our safety officers and our school resource officers are individuals that kids feel are there to support them and that they will go to with concerns so they can help them resolve those concerns. Or we hire our safety officers for our district. It is with a student focus, absolutely. We are not looking to hire people that don't want to work with kids. It's one of our biggest things. I mean, they would, constantly our safety officers are being praised by our kids for, just really the way they interact with them and the relationships that they build. And then, of course, school resource officers play another piece in this. Unfortunately, this year, I know that funding has been an issue, both here in Covington and now in King County side that serves Kent Lake. So we are currently without school resource officers at both of those locations. We'd love to try to figure out a way to make sure that those could return to those schools next year if possible. I know that especially Kentwood really misses Their safety officer, the school resource officer who has been serving them for years. They still see her because she's around responding to a lot of the calls, but it's not the same as the daily interactions they were having with her. Of course, safety in this day and age right now includes COVID mitigation strategies that we've been deeply involved in all school year long. As part of bringing kids back to in-person learning, there were things that we needed to do. We were getting directions from the state, we were getting directions from public health, and then we've been monitoring our own cases among our students and our staff. And that has really driven a lot of the decisions that we've made throughout the year. We regularly look at the information that we have, the directions that we're given, the number of cases we have, to really decide, can we loosen up on some of the mitigation strategies that we have? Do we need to strengthen some of them? And so that's kind of an ongoing thing, and we don't see that being any different for next year. We'll continue to monitor it all through the summer, and we'll look to see what things we need to do to start the year. But I think we are committed to being in person and making it work, continuing from this point. Student designed and facilitated the listening session. This is actually something I'm very excited about. And when you're talking about your youth council, something that, it might be applicable somewhere, that we really wanted to build a system where we could get authentic student voice. We wanted to hear what was important to them and really address that. And so we worked with our newly formed Office of Equity. We've hired an Office of Director of Equity this year for the first time, and we're super excited about that. Simone Hamilton is her name, and we immediately got to work with how do we create these student listening sessions that are authentic and focused on the students. And so that's what we did, and we have started that process. We had our first student listening session directed by students at Kent Lake last week, and we'll be going through all of the 4 comprehensive high schools. And really, we gave them the topic of school safety. And basically, we had a student design team that we said, okay, we want to get input from students on safety. One of the things we do want input on is around safety officers and school resource officers, but we don't want you to limit it to that. So that's one topic we want you to cover, but we also want you to cover what is important to you here at this school. And that is done in facilitated by both individuals in student and family support services, as well as the Office of Equity. And the school administration is sitting along with the students in that process, building this process. And so these listening sessions will actually look different at all 4 of the comprehensive high schools because they are designed by the students themselves. And so they are going to look different. There's not a cookie cutter method or template to this. And so really excited to then have representatives from each of the schools come share on June 15th at our school board meeting. We are having a special safety listening session. And it's going to start with the students from each of the 4 comprehensive high schools reporting out what the students at their schools said about what is the priority for them around school safety. And not just what are their priorities, but here is what we think should happen to try to maybe address some of the concerns that we have. And then our administrators are committed to working with students to try to work on those plans and put some things into place next year, so they see some action coming from their input. We're hoping to expand this into our middle schools next year once we've learned some things from this. And we really feel like this could be a great method to really get student voice on a number of different topics. So this time it was safety, but there might be something else that we want to throw out there next time and figure out. So like I said, that's one of our really exciting projects that we're really hoping will really pay off.
Thank you. Mayor Reagan, if you okay with this, I'd like Dr. Behringer to go ahead. I've asked him to shorten it so we have some time. So, but he will hit some of the topics that were on here. So, Dr. Behringer.
Jeff knows I can talk. Yeah, that's what happens when you what happens when you get the middle school principal and high school principal together and say, hey, we want you to present on everything you guys are doing in the district. So, but I definitely can make this brief. That's not a problem. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity this evening. It's great to be able to have this partnership with the Covington City Council. So we can be here this evening, kind of share these updates. I'll start off with that. We've had many successes this year in the Kent School District. One of them, I'll just kind of piggyback on what Israel said a little bit earlier, is that for the first time in 2 years, our students, Jennifer's child, will be able to do an in-person graduation at Showware. And that's great. It's great.
It is so great, you guys. You have no idea, because I had I had a 2020 graduate, so I know what it's like not to have it. So a huge thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and that really kind of addresses the social and emotional piece for our seniors, especially in the class of 2022. But also then they have access to in-person prom as well, which I'm sure that your daughter?
My son, that's what, yeah, I'm isolating from him so he does not get it.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a big success to be able to come out and say we're going to do in person, because our kids, they need that and they deserve that. Another major success as we started off the 22 calendar year, which was the passing of our AP&O levy. And again, the support from Covington, greatly appreciated. Almost 55% pass rate, which is great. And we know what passing levies does for our school and for our kids and for our staff and for our communities. So we appreciate that. As we talk, Israel mentioned a little bit about the virtual academy. Another big piece, another priority initiative is creating an environment for students who, yes, it's different than what they did when they went through the pandemic and they were at home and they were remote learning. Creating an authentic, sustainable, alternative learning environment for kids in an online academy that allows the student experience to drive their success. So creating a school that really is designed to meet the needs of all types of students for all different reasons. And our virtual academy, starting in the fall of 2022, will be a 6th through 12th grade, so 7 grade levels. We've capped it at this first year at 600, and as far as capacity goes, 600 students. We have an opportunity within this the virtual academy to try some things differently for our kids. A lot of our kids that'll be able to access the virtual academy will be cross enrolled between their boundary schools or the bricks and mortar schools and the virtual academy. So maybe they'll take CTE like courses, other advanced level courses and things like that at their bricks and mortar school, and then also pick up some online courses through the virtual academy. You can also be a full-time virtual academy student as well. So it's a very flexible model that allows students from 6th grade to 12th grade to kind of find what works for them. Also in the virtual academy, we've opened it up where these are going to be 9-week grading periods. Those are usually quarters for us. We don't usually give credit until you get to the semester mark, but now kids can receive a semester's worth of credit in a quarter, in 9 weeks. So kids that are accessing virtual academy courses, 1, 2, 3, or 4, will have access to getting more credits than their peers who are sitting in the traditional schools, if they choose to. And so there's an opportunity for some advancement opportunities there for our kids that want to access the virtual academy. So there's a lot of things going on with the virtual academy. We've been working on it for about 8 months. We've got a pretty good sized team working on that. We've hired a principal. Principal's been involved in the last 2 or 3 weeks with us in every single meeting that we're doing. We just hired 2 of the 4 core teachers that we're starting off with. We're working with our labor partners very intently every single week to finalize MOUs and agreements. So everyone's understanding of what this has looked like in the virtual environment, because it is slightly different than being in a traditional in-person setting. So we're very, very excited about that on the Kent School District side for our kids especially. This really is designed for students. I know that as we work with our labor partners and trying to make sure that we're meeting their needs as well, try to remind them that this really is about the kids. And so trying to make that work has been great. Our partnerships with our labor groups have been great through this process. So very excited about that opportunity. And again, as the years go on, we hope to add additional grade levels. So we might start at 6th through 12th now, but we might be looking at adding 4th and 5th the next year, so on and so forth. Question?
Is this information going to roll out onto the website anytime soon? I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's on the website. Yeah, there's a big gigantic FAQ on the website. If you go in and look for the Virtual Academy, it's right there. Yeah, and if you have questions, you can always email me and I can give you all the information.
So earlier you referenced one of the impetus for the virtual academy is to help increase enrollment or gain
Correct.
some of that back.
Yes.
So it sounds like that's a very specialized, like it will be, even with its flexibility. Who are you trying to get back to the full?
So
Okay.
over the last few years, especially as the pandemic hit, we lost a little over 400 students to online learning environments outside of the Kansas School District, sometimes across the state, depending on the availability. And so not only are we trying to hope to bring back many of those students who still live physically in the Kansas School District, yet are accessing online learning outside of the Kansas School District, bring them back, as well as create an opportunity for some students who saw success in a remote learning environment, even though it'll look a little bit different. Maybe their learning style is a little bit more geared towards this opportunity. And so we're seeing, so it's really geared to both of us, hoping to gain enrollment back, as well as create an opportunity for those that are currently sitting in person that may function better in a remote or in a virtual environment. So, yeah.
So as a person who's doing online schooling now, I've had teachers where you just turn in the work and they just give you full credit because they didn't want to read anything. These are supposedly doctors of history who are doing this. Right? My question is, how are we going to ensure that that's not happening at the virtual academy? Because if I'm not saying my children are going to go to the virtual academy, but they might. I want to make sure that they're actually learning and not just turning in something that says, to quote The Simpsons, kill Flanders 500 times and they get full credit.
And that's a great point. And that's exactly why we built this around the student experience. And that's why this entire school is really geared towards the kids. And so when we're working with teachers and we're creating professional development, which will be the entire month of August for teachers that are hired into these roles, really teaching them on what it looks like to meet the needs of students in a virtual environment. These are now 9-week grading cycles. Therefore, feedback is critically important to the growth and sustainability of student engagement during this time frame. And so that is a really key piece when it comes to what are the requirements for working in this environment. You've got to be a person that loves kids and wants to make sure that you help them grow. And so it's not just a turn assignment in, grade it, and I never have to see you. In this particular environment, they may see the kids like physically on a screen twice a week, but they have twice a week during that same week that they're doing asynchronous work where it's videos, it's online types of engaging activities the kids will be working on. The teachers are available to help support them in that environment as well, in that same content area. Because we really are covering a semester's worth of work in a quarter.
Does that cap out at the end of the year, say the student wants to hold us through the entire thing? You obviously can't keep moving forward. Are they done when they're done for the year?
No, in fact, this will create the opportunity for kids who are going through and taking classes. Let's say they're taking 10th grade English. And they finish 10th grade English in a semester, by our terms, 18 weeks. There's opportunities because our teachers that we have that'll be hired in these positions will be teaching multiple classes and multiple grade levels. So there's a possibility for students to be able to start picking up a different grade levels set of classes, whether it be electives, potentially in core areas, to allow them to continue to advance. This is not designed that every kid who goes through the virtual academy will still have to go at the same pace that all of their peers in the traditional schools are going, because it is different. It is condensed, it is faster, it's quicker. Okay. And we can talk a lot more about that, I know, so I don't want to jump into the boundary piece. As you know, our board approved one of our 5 pieces last January. Moving forward, as far as the boundary study that we did with MGT, that was to be able to support the new River Ridge Elementary School that's on the west hill of Kent. And so we made some boundary adjustments with our feeder elementary schools to be able to fill that particular school. What that left us was 4 other areas that we needed to address over this next year and a half from that point until beginning of the 23-24 school year. And so what we've done is we've taken an opportunity to look at the MGT analysis, which is the group that we contracted with to come in and do this boundary study. And we've created 3 boundary committees. We've got the Boundary Review Committee, which is looking at all of the boundary proposals and where the lines are drawn and which neighborhood goes to which school and the balance of demographics and educational programs and all those kind of things. We've got the Middle School Model Committee that Randy leads, looking at the most ideal middle school model that we can create in the Kansas School District. So looking at research and reading a book within this committee to look and to really design the best opportunity for kids in the middle school level. And then we have our outreach and communication committee. And so we've been working with our committees for the last couple of months, we meet every other week. And we've got community members, which are parents from all the strands within the Kansas School District, as well as KSD staff who have knowledge of individual areas that are pertinent to this particular work. And we're meeting every other week, and we're moving along. Sometimes when you're taking a group of 40 and you meet every other week, it doesn't go as fast as you'd like, but that's all right. We're having some really good conversations. We're going to get in and dig in and peel back the layers and ask those tough questions and have those tough conversations and get to the point where we're going to make a recommendation to the board. Now, to the Lake Point piece that you brought up, and I appreciate you bringing that up. It's been on our radar since before we started this boundary work, a handful of months ago. And we're familiar with all the phases, so we know as they're building, those are coming in as phases. So we're not going to have 1,700 multifamily housing units built all within the next year. We know that they're being phased in over the next, 4, 5, 6 years. And so we've taken that into consideration in the fact that we've also done a capacity study within our own district, looking at how many seats are available in all of our schools, not just the schools that could benefit or could be taking students from Lake Point, which would be Crestwood and Cedar Valley. At this point, we could spread out a little bit further than that, but those would be the 2 schools that would take most of those students. And they have capacity for several hundred students combined between those 2 schools. And we kind of figured that the 1,700 multifamily housing units as time goes on will equate to about 500-600 students over the next 6 or 7 years. And so it is on our radar. It's a part of the conversation. We want to make sure that and we don't know, no one knows who's going to move into which houses and how many kids are going to have in each of those homes and things like that. But we are ready at the elementary level as we move through this process with the boundary change. One of those pieces is moving 6th graders to middle school. And it'll create some additional opportunities and space there as well as at the high school level, which has some capacity as well. I can't wait for sure. So definitely on top of our radar, we have not ignored that. And it's exciting. I mean, that's an exciting thing for Covington. There's no doubt.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
And this council right here is very tired of me talking about boundaries.
Time's up.
I guess so.
He's not kidding. So the students who are at a school that may be affected by a boundary change, I'll use my home as an example, because I live if you could walk to Kentwood in 10 minutes, drive in 2, or walk to Kent Lake in a day and drive in half an hour, and my son goes to Kent Lake.
Yeah.
And by the time these will be changing, he'll be a junior. The question is, those students who are going to be 2 years left, will they have is there going to be like a flyer that comes to them in class and they say, check this if you're going to Kentwood next year, or check this if you're going to want to stay here? And then how do we deal with transportation issues along those lines as well?
So these are all part of these conversations. Where does the transfer process play in? Is there a grandfathering that would take place for kids that have been in a particular strand for so long and you want them to see out their senior year in that school? There's a lot of different conversations that have to happen. And so because we have not made a decision as far as a recommendation to give to the board has not said, yes, this is what we're doing. We're not there yet, but just know that those are topics of conversation because there are a lot of people in your shoes throughout the district. So
yes,
it is.
And the only reason I use mine was because I knew I was, when looking at the MGT study last year, he was going to be at Kentwood this fall, but the board had approved it. But new elementary was approved. And so we're trying to figure this out because I know my whole neighborhood asks. I know other areas of the city are trying to figure it out as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And our hope is to move through this timeline and this work diligently throughout the rest of the spring, through the summer and the early fall, to be able to bring a recommendation to the board in very early fall. And so that's, yeah.
Also add, Mr. Heath worked on a policy and procedure piece in preparation for that to allow for some of those, but that's part of that process that we paused purposely as we talked earlier before the meeting. So we were planning, yeah.
And taking into consideration the capacity of each of the high schools, and when you work on boundaries and things like that, you've got a school like, you can't like an old, 2,600 kids and it's holding 1,500 kids at the high point, 1,400 on a regular basis. And so you've got a lot of space. So, that's part of the conversation is, do you move the boundaries to be able to get more kids into that? And then you're busing almost everybody out there. The other piece you have to take into consideration is transportation. Bus drivers don't go on trees. That's a struggle that we've been working with for 20 plus years in the Kansas School District, as well as neighboring districts, is that if we don't have enough bus drivers, then we can't create enough routes. So we can't do some of those pieces that are MGT cannot physically or financially be done because we do not have the personnel to do that. And those are part of the conversations we're having, because we've got to pick all those apart. And you're just one of thousands of people that have, questions like that.
I know. Of those thousands, I know I'm the one that gets that. This type of a meeting. So like, I'll ask.
Even from like transportation, concurrency and trips, if we can get students that can walk to school, way better on the road. Let's say,
yeah, it's a lot of creative, innovative, open-minded thinking and conversations that have to take place during these tough times and these decisions that'll eventually impact so many. We got to think about the kids. Then my last piece is just, sorry.
Excuse me, Dr. Barringer. Joe, I know that you were very frustrated when the board did not pass the MGT plan last year, but
yeah, you guys got emails.
I told him because I told him not to.
No, and believe me, I heard that loud and clear and on social media, but that plan is not ready to go. It's just like, well, if we would have done that, I don't think it would have been a good decision at that particular point. It wouldn't have really had the benefits that more study and more community input that is really needed. So I think even though it may affect you personally.
Well, I think we'll talk after the meeting. There's something else I was frustrated about also, but that has nothing to do with this meeting, so we can talk about it after.
You know my note.
My last piece I wanted to share with you guys is that, as if we didn't have enough going on in the Kansas School District, we just, successfully passed our 2022 EP&O renewal levy in February. We are now at that point as well that we've got our 2016 bond is running to the end of its 6/7 year cycle in 23. So it's time for us to go out again for another capital measure, another bond. And so we are working right now and have been working for several months behind the scenes within the district internally to kind of put some pieces together. We've been having conversations with our financial advisor. We've kind of opened this up and shared it with the board as well, that we need to move forward with the bond in the calendar year 23. And now it's a matter of putting together our bond task force, bringing our community together with our staff, starting to have frank conversations, looking at our state assessments that were done on every single one of our school sites and our district sites to assess the needs that have been identified through an outside assessor, and coming up with that list of projects, and then being able to figure out what can our community agree to, what are we willing to support. I wanted to kind of just hitch our wagon on the back of Regan and the whole idea that you got people to get on board with things. I'm like, all right, well, I got a 2023 bond campaign I'd like to put on that. If you can get everybody who's agreeing with yours and trust us in the district, that this is what's best for not only our students and our staff, but our community. Because there are several pieces that we talked about, that you talked about in your presentation. We talked about fields, we talked about partnerships with the Kansas School District and Covington. The same thing, I was just at Kent City Council this evening. They're in the Parks and Rec sharing out of their space study. And we want to partner with them for sharing spaces, creating synthetic fields, multi-purpose fields. So you don't have to worry about spending money on returfing grass when grass is a thing of the past. I mean, it really is. And so we've got some great projects that will positively impact kids at every single school in this district, every single community in this district. And so we're looking forward to bringing that committee together and working through that for the next four or 5 months until, again, beginning of fall. The board's going to be busy. Come fall, we're going to be bringing not only the boundary recommendation, but also a recommendation around the bond. And so, yeah, lots of great things coming.
Do you know when you plan on filing that bond measure? Which election next year?
Yeah, we're looking at April 2022. Yeah. We need the time because this is a big one. Yeah, it's a big one. It'll be the biggest bond that Kent's ever done. And of course, that'll be with input from our community task force. But once they see the project and the state assessment, I think they see the need.
Well, to acknowledge our board for a decision they made back to the fields. We already have, in case you didn't know, synthetic baseball field at KM High School. We have a synthetic field for our girls softball. And our goal is to create a center there because that's one of our most used locations for athletics across the state. And so we want to continue that partnership with Covington and Kent because we get more use out of those synthetic fields because we don't cancel games. We cancel so many athletic field games. That's where it begins congestion in some of the fields. So just wanted to point that out. We want to continue to partner in that area.
Yeah, we're constantly using all the synthetic fields anywhere and everywhere around the entire area because we cancel more than half of our games in the springtime for rainouts and are just unsafe conditions. And so it's time to move away from them. Yeah.
So I want to say that's good that there are synthetic fields at KM because having played sports there growing up, that was a ball pit. No matter what it was. Oh, yeah. 2 questions, and I'm going to go back to the boundaries. When you get the boundaries ready, is that going to be sent an email to all like the parents and everybody in the school district, or is that just going to be on the website?
We'll have a full communication plan to communicate with all parents that are impacted once the board approves whatever they approve.
And secondly, the capital bond that you're going to go out for, what all is that encompassing? When we say capital, it could mean various things. What is it all encompassing?
Yeah, I can tell you that as of right now, even though we haven't started our work with our stakeholder groups, based on our capacity study, we have no need to build a brand new school right now. We have room in all of our schools for kids, as well as we have 170 portables on our school sites. And so that's something that we'll have to share with our board as well as our capacity study. So there's no need to build a new school building. So it really is going to be about rejuvenating and kind of bringing 2022 into all of our schools. So not only is that like updating all of our HVAC so we never run into this pandemic problem ever again, but we've got the majority of our schools outside of the new ones that have built in the last 10 years are running furniture in there that were there far before you went to school. They were there if your parents ever went to those schools, they were there. And so we're just not in 2022 or 2030. And so we need to really kind of polish up all of our school sites inside and out so they're aesthetically pleasing and great learning environments for all kids and families to want to be a part of. So that's really where the focus is going.
Does this include new benches at French Field too? Because as a guy who spent a lot of Friday nights at French Field.
December of 2022. That's the one. Nice. Not this football season. Oh yeah, just the last piece. I just wanted to address one of the questions that you had, and obviously we'll open up the student engagement piece. Yeah, there you go. Anytime a city council member would like to be able to have access to our civics classes at our high school level, especially for you guys for Kent Lake and Kentwood, all you need to do is reach out to Heidi or Samantha, respective principals. Let them know that you're interested, and they'll hook you up with the civics teachers. And you guys will be able to create some sort of plan to be able to come in and speak and or engage in discussion and dialogue. That's the easiest way to do it, is just go right to the principal. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was my question and comment. I really appreciate that. I think getting directly in front of kids serves a number of our needs, like pushing the youth council, but also all these other activities we have. But also getting information to them on services that we have available that they may not know about. You know, I continue to push my son, who also goes to Kent, graduating here in a couple of weeks. But he's already applied to college. Except that it's interesting because they talk about placements that he has to take for English and math to see where he'll be when he gets to college. And just, you know, there's no civics placement in any of these. Just, you know, so again, I'm going to use this. I know it's good. People don't even know how to engage with their society. They just, it's not always just, you know, how to get a job and then, you know, how do they actively and proactively and effectively interact with their community? You can see there's nobody in the audience tonight. I just think the more often we can get people and get them excited and see, oh, it's not that scary and difficult. I just will make a comment tonight and here it goes.
Well, civics wasn't even a graduation requirement in the Kent School District until several years ago. Yeah. And so across the state, it wasn't an expectation. So you're absolutely right. And I think the more our civic leaders can get in front of our students to talk about a lot of things, voting, youth advisory board, getting involved, community service, because now colleges are not just looking at your SAT score. In fact, rarely are they looking at an SAT or PSAT anymore. They're truly looking at the whole student. What do you bring to our university or college that is going to make you a value add to our campus? And that's what they're looking for. And so that's what our kids need to know. Like, it's great to walk out of there with a 4.0 and 1,600 your SATs. But what else have you done? What makes you who you are, and what are you going to bring to contribute to our campus? And that's really what college is looking for.
And society.
That's absolutely.
People like that.
Yeah. Well, nowadays in the world, absolutely.
Better engaged so that they're not just throwing bombs. Hey, I can make a difference.
I just wanted to summarize and thank the team. Again, thank Mayor Wagner and the council. Wanted to leave more time for questions as well, but wanted to thank our team. You can see that the conversations that I started with Mayor Wagner earlier were really around things that you've heard already. And that some of these we've accomplished, some of them we have yet to go. There's no way we can do this alone. We have to partner, city partners that Randy mentioned, and also other partners. And that includes our communities that don't speak English as their first language at home. That is increasing exponentially. And I think that is a focus of our board. I know one of my focus areas has been for some time. So I wanted just to let you know that and leave the last opportunity for questions.
So many years ago, Kentwood and Kentland were on a trimester schedule where they had 4 classes a day. And that was the last time I did that was my sophomore year. So it was 2001, 2002, many years. So it's been 20 years. That hurts to say, by the way. My question, and I knew barely anybody who was having issues with their grades because they had the ability to speak with their teacher, because the lesson literally took 45 to 50 minutes of class, and we still had half an hour to do work and get those qualifying questions. And you had basically a tutor built into your day, and you had that access to your teacher a lot easier than the 5 minutes in between class you have now. Is there talk about moving to high schools to something like that again, or is that just living in the past and it's always we're gonna have to do away? I'm gonna have to think of that as a wonderful time of my life.
Well, I can just tell you that over the years, there's been conversations about every 5 years, a conversation pops up about what's the best or ideal schedule for student learning. And we've gone around with the 4x4 and the 8-period day and the blocks and the rotating and alternate schedules. Our Kent Lab Academy has an 8-period schedule where they have 4 classes one day and alternating the next day. And so that's the one high school credit attainment traditional school we have in our, well, not traditional, but school we have in our district that has an alternate schedule, and it works for them, and it's been great. And so, but there has been conversations, and sometimes it just depends on the principals you have in the traditional comprehensive high schools, where we are as the state of the district, what's everyone else doing, and seeing, because we've seen other districts transition to trimesters or 4x4 blocks, and they'll do it for a couple of years and they'll come right back because it didn't do everything they thought it was going to do. So
I will also say that as part of the middle school model design, bringing sixth graders into the middle school, one of the things that the group is really discussing is what type of schedule best suits middle school students. So, we're not totally tied to a 6-period day that we currently have. We really are exploring all the different possibilities of what's best for middle school learners in terms of that.
And I sat on the 424 committee when we discussed all these different models, different our community members and staff. We met for about 3 or 4 months, and this is a while ago, because we had a lot happen with the pandemic. But we came up with a final plan at the end, and we did present several different plans. The one that everybody wanted to do was not really making a lot of changes to the schedule. It was more wraparound services. It was more time for kids that were falling behind to have the help, create a hub where kids had all this network around them. And I think we've been kind of using that model as I've kind of watched this develop. We never really formally talked about it, but I've seen that, and where, a lot of the teachers felt, Joe, that they didn't see a whole lot of difference when they were offered a lot more opportunity for help. If they needed something else before they'd come and get that, whatever it was. But adding more hours and more periods and more blocks or stuff, they just didn't see the difference that was going to make. They needed to make a difference in the student, so they felt they could come and get involved with that teacher and ask for the help. And that probably came more from the social emotional level. And just, that's what the committee came up with. It's not me, it's the entire city. So
I would just piggyback to that. What did we learn from the pandemic? And what are we continuing to learn? What I charge my team with is around the concept of options. When we started talking about virtual academy, what options can we create for our families? We need different options. Dr. Behringer mentioned KLA. We have iGrad that has options. We used to have KMDA, which joined with KLA, and now has different options within that. And so I'm excited about the virtual academy and what it can continue to be for our parents. The other one that I challenge them with is let's look to the future and adapt to where we're going. I think that the reason that didn't work is because there's the Gates Foundation. We have a whole bunch of groups tried these different models, and as Wade said, they went right back. We need to keep having options and keep trying these because our parents are asking for them. And so those are the 2 pieces that I want to make. We learned a lot from the pandemic. Let's keep learning, let's keep adapting, and keep partnering.
To piggyback off of the pandemic, we know that it was a halt, and it was a halt on all the fronts, and it slowed students down academically. Do we have a quantifiable measure to look back and say, hey, this is how much we've lost as far as academically, and then moving forward, this is the plan to get them back to get the information by graduation? Yes. Or it's, it sounds like this online academy.
Absolutely. I think one thing I didn't share in our prior initiatives, every single district in the state must develop an academic recovery and student well-being plan. Every district. And so that's what our team was working on for quite some time. The acceleration of those students that They call it learning loss. We're not calling it that because guess what? We had that before the pandemic. Our challenge is how are we going to re-envision the supports I mentioned earlier? How are we going to align our supports? Are we to keep doing what we used to do, knowing the pandemic has given us another challenge or another opportunity? That's what my team is doing, not only from the operational side, but also from the support side that Randy's team has been leading. And we know we can't get to the academic side unless we're also doing the social emotional side. It has to be together because we have a lot of our kids that are hurting out there and they still are needing supports. So we're focusing our efforts on both of there, but that's the plan. And now we're being held accountable on using our current state and federal dollars in addition to the additional federal dollars. And we all receive dollars in different ways, but yeah, I just wanted to share that.
And just to add, I have the privilege of working with our executive directors of learning improvement. We're the ones who directly work with, there's 4 of them in the 4 different high school strands of buildings. So they meet weekly with the principals, and one of the things that they're constantly looking at is the academic performance of the students, what supports they put into place. So there's in a district our size, there's not 1 or 2 things that we're gonna all just say, okay, we're gonna do this district wide and it's gonna solve all that. It really does need to look at the individual impact at each school because each school is impacted in a different way for a variety of different reasons. So we now have kind of a year worth of our different types of assessment that we're going through. And I think this will give us a lot of really information about where we go the next couple of years. The high schools are really focused on the idea of, so much of it is credit, attainment. And so really monitoring real time kids that need additional supports to retrieve credits to get them back on track to graduate on time. That is an absolute focus of every one of our 4 high schools. And so, yeah.
That's just the fact that this was probably before the pandemic, and now to push them even harder. I hope that it is going to be successful because we didn't have a recovery before the pandemic, and so the students have to take on a different responsibility, right? I have one more question, but I don't know if anyone else has a question. Kentwood has a performing arts center. Is that something we can utilize? I know just and this was a thought. There was such a good response. On Friday, we organized a fundraiser. Multiple children performed. This was a targeted fundraiser, but we had such a callback for, can we see more kids? We want to see more kids. They're so talented, and they all have their own little talents. And with Kentwood's Performing Arts Center or the theater, is there a way we can integrate that, and whether it be use like this group has this is the theme of this event, this is the theme of this other event, but what people are afraid of is what they don't know. And when they do get to know, and I'm not, not just adults, but specifically for kids, when they don't know who the child next to them is, it's scary. So just to food for thought, but if it were an option, I would love to look forward towards that.
I can say that we've had community groups and nonprofits that have asked about what can we use, and made that happen. Everything from the past for a refugee transition center that we spoke about, for feeding our families, for creating opportunities for our families that I mentioned earlier. So, and I know Mr. Heath has worked with community partners who ask about this quite often, and so this team has been doing a lot of that work.
Yeah, I mean, I believe our buildings are the community's buildings. And so, you know, when they're not being used for school events, we would like to see them used by our community. And, you know, we've had to limit it a little bit during the pandemic because of all the health regulations. But, you know, that I think is a priority moving forward as we move past to try to get our facilities being used.
Couple things and I'll go quickly. For the upcoming B&O tax, and obviously it hasn't passed, but I think one of the things we're doing differently is we're getting our faces in front of their faces. And so it's not rocket science. I think the more doors physically knock on and need, the more likely we're going to pass that bond. And there are precincts in Covington and Kent that vote more often than others. And so, you know, there's thoughts about how to do that. There are ways to strategically use time to get photos. And then I guess the other thing I was thinking, you know, we are, the B&O tax, we're thinking about how it benefits those businesses. So, I mean, I vote for school boards because, you know, I have kids in there, but I also, you know, in the back of my mind, know it's good for my community too. So if you push some of those themes as well, property values go up in schools, go put areas with good schools. Productivity, you know, if kids aren't out sick because the HVAC system is up to date, that means the parents are at work and the school businesses don't move. Anyway, I'm just saying, what do I care if the HVAC is good at Covington Elementary? Oh, that's right, my coworkers out all the time. Because, you know, so I just, you know, again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm saying maybe pushing those, get some of those other votes. Switching gears, I went to a high school a little while ago. My son was really into basketball, and I've seen a lot of genes in basketball in schools. And it was interesting, at one school, they had all of their student athletes been going back like 40 years. And I'm not saying we don't, but I'm thinking maybe they should have the valedictorians that have gone back 40 years. You know, it's showing students that there are other things to aspire for. So not taking the student athletes down, but it'd be nice to see, you know, hey, this English major or this band member, you know, went on to have an outstanding career as well. So I would say we need to start promoting more than just the sports and what those people do. I mean, they had all their jerseys up there, that's fine. But if someone invented a brand new TV show, it'd be great to have that person up there too. And then finally, I'll just make a pitch for, it's great having games at KM, but I also kind of like the model of the battle over 272nd, where the high schools go back and forth between Kentwood and Kent Lake to play basketball. And I have heard from some of the coaches, they'd love to do the same at the football games too. I know that's hard because we don't have enough bleachers, but an occasional home game at Kentwood or Kent Lake, I think people would like that as well. So something to think about. So,
it's one of those guys who has his own high school jersey that is used to hang in Stan's office. I feel you wanting more representation than just those athletes, because none of us here are professional athletes are doing great things for our community.
I don't think so.
But I think recognizing those who went on to do something great and they're from that went to their school, like Kentwood has famous musicians who's like, these guys were the guys in the band no one talked to, and now they're making albums that everyone listens to.
Jennifer, do you have any questions?
I do, thank you. So just a quick question since we're over time. Regan and I had talked about this a little bit. Without the school safety officers in place, City of Covington would like a primary contact at safety services so that when we do have an event here in the city, we can get immediate information over to the school district, and so that the school district can immediately communicate to any schools impacted.
That would be safety. That would be Tim Kovich, who is our safety supervisor.
Yeah, so if we could get that person's direct contact info as well as a backup. It's come up recently as an issue where, I mean, quite honestly, I was kind of communicating information to the school. And so it wasn't as efficient as it could have been. And so I would love to kind of clean that up.
Thank you, Jennifer. This is great to hear you and see you. We'll be sure to get that to you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Exactly. Just send it to Reagan and Krista.
Right. Yes, good.
Just a really quick question. I probably should know the answer to this, but is 10 Trails going to be going, will those children be going to Kent Lake, or are they in a separate district? Are they going to Enumclaw?
It depends.
Or will they be taking some of that? You said there's capacity at Kent Lake, but I can see that maybe shifting it.
See, and that's because there's part of that that's Black Diamond.
Right.
And so, you know, I can't answer that 100% right now, because I know that Enumclaw expects that they're going to be growing. And we also know that that 10 Trails is close enough in proximity to Kent Lake, much closer than Kent Lake. But if they're not within our boundary lines, then that's where, you know, things get a little.
Now, families can always, and anybody has a right to ask to transfer to another school district. So sometimes when people border right next to each other and a school is closer, we do see an increase in the number of people that will apply for a transfer. And we are open to transfers. So
We'll take them out. Yes, if they're high school.
Mayor Wagner.
Yes.
I would, again, thank you. And appreciate our ongoing partnership and look forward to continuing this. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I think the partnership we have now with Kent School District is a lot more open, a lot more positive than what many previous years ago. So I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the open dialogue and the way that the three of you gentlemen brought the information to us tonight, and brought the top key people. I mean, you're the board and you three, so I really appreciate that. I just look forward to our partnership, and thank you for everything you do and the communication. And when you and I sat down, Superintendent, previous before your superintendent, and the building plan that you have, I'm really excited about where this school is. I really think that the board you have, your leadership, and Dr. Barrister and Randy, I think that the three of you and everybody in the school district, and I think our students within the school district are going to start excelling even better. All right, with that, the meeting is adjourned, and thank you all again, and hope that you all have a very safe and pleasant evening. Thank you.